G'day guys, E53 here, back with another video, and this time we're actually looking at Assetto Corsa. So it's a game that's been out for quite a while now. I think just about everybody would have heard of Assetto Corsa, but it's one that I've actually only just picked up, strangely, because basically I got very heavily into iRacing, and I've been doing a lot of that, and sort of lost interest in the modding side of things that I used to do quite a lot of, sort of back in the days of R Factor 1 and so on, and then, sort of picked up Race Room as well, and which also doesn't support mods or anything like that. And I hadn't really had too much of an interest in going to get a Assetto Corsa. I already own Automobilista and R Factor 2 and so many others, and I didn't really see too much point in actually picking this one up. But after some encouragement from my brother, he actually advised me to pick this one up. So I've gone out and got it just last week, and since then got right back into the modding side of things and gone around trying to find some really good mods for the game. And I found one, and I must say that it is really my favourite mod that I've played on anything. And I've played a lot of mods over the years on various titles. I think I had around about 25 consecutive seasons worth of Formula 1 on Grand Prix 2, if anybody remembers that one. It's the very first game I ever got involved in the modding side of things on. So anyway, this is the DRM Revival Mod. It's 1.1, which has been released relatively recently. They actually released the mod at the start of this year and have just released an update. So, first of all, I guess I'm really biased towards this mod in the first place, because I played the first original version of it on R Factor, the first R Factor, and I love that. And they've gone one step further in bringing it to Assetto Corsa. I can't really see anything that's been directly converted over, because when you directly convert mods over from an older title like R Factor, it's always sort of missing some of the newer features of the newer title. So it really does feel as though almost everything's been completely rebuilt from the ground up, which is very impressive. So it is a paid mod. It's about €15, which I think translates to around about $25 Australian or something like that, so it's not cheap, but it's around about the same sort of ballpark as buying a car for iRacing, for example, as we all know how expensive that is. So it's certainly not exorbitant by any means, especially when you're getting 10 new cars into the sim. So for those who might not know a little bit about DRM, it's basically the forerunner to DTM, which is the current German touring car championship. DRM stands for Deutsche Rennsport Meisterschaft, and it is the racing championship that was, the forerunner of DTM. Originally, when it started out, it was for touring cars, but then as time has gone along, they've opened it up. I think it was about 1977. They opened it up to Group 5 cars, which were under the FIA Group 5. Saw a lot of them sort of competing at Le Mans and various types of things. They were really the frontline sports cars of the day. And I really like this era of car, and I'll just jump in to show you this one here, the BMW. None of this stuff is licensed, of course, so they don't call it a BMW, they call it an RMT 120. Everyone can see it's a BMW 320. But anyway, that's what we've got. So, and they do come with sort of unlicensed paint schemes as well. I've actually downloaded a skin pack for this mod, which has put all the proper sponsors and everything on there as well. So it's got all the proper names and everything that the original builders of the mod weren't able to use, because it is paid content. So just having a look at some of the aero on these old cars, I mean, I just love the basic nature of the aero. The big wedge type front splitters and the big rear wings and the guard flares, rear mounted radiators and so on that they used to put in there for better weight distribution and all the rest of it. And also, I particularly love the turbo cars of this era. They were just everyone's just sort of turbocharging was relatively new. Everyone's just sort of getting their hands on it, getting a handle on it. Very raw, very brutal types of cars to drive. And you can see this one here. This was fairly typical of one of the first Group 5 cars that actually came into the championship. And as time went along, they started getting monsters, like Le Mans bred monsters, like the BMW M1, Porsche 935, And as motorsport is known to do, everything got very, very expensive very quickly. Nobody could afford to race anymore, and they had to reset the rules, and unfortunately that was the end of DRM. But fortunately, we got the opportunity to bring it back here. So just have a quick look at some of the other cars that are available for this one. I'm probably going to take the BMW out. I haven't driven too much of that one yet, so I'm going to give it a go. But just to give you an idea, we've got something that's definitely not a Toyota Celica here. But obviously you can see that it is. Actually, my first car was a car very, very similar to this, the road-going version, not the Group 5 version, obviously. But yeah, great to see the Toyota in there. I have had a drive of that. Very different personality to some of the other cars. Very, very tail-happy. I found it to be anyway. So we've got the BMW M1 over here as well. As we go back further through, there's the Ferrari 308, a couple of modified 308s there. This is actually my favourite car in the mod, which is the Lancia Beta Monte Carlo. Very fun car to drive, that one. The only problem is with it, because I do want to show you a bit of sort of close-up racing, and there's such a wide performance gap in the cars in the mod. You generally find that the fast cars will disappear away from this car, but this will leave all the slower stuff behind. So it's not going to show you much of a race. So normally I'd like to have a drive of that car, but I won't be today, just for entertainment purposes. We've also got a Capri here. Capri is a very popular car from that era as well. Sort of getting up there in the horsepower now as well. 590 horsepower for this one. Got one of the Escorts here, which is, I guess, fairly typical of the first cars that were raced under the Group 5 rules in the DRM. I believe they were still entered privately later on as some of the bigger, higher horsepower monsters took over, but certainly a very cool little car there as well. Had one drive of it. I'd had a couple of beers at that stage, so I wasn't actually that great in it, but I do intend to come back to it at some point and have another go. And of course then we've got a ton of Porsche 935s here. And one that's actually really cool, there's one of them that's actually got, in the paint scheme that I downloaded, not sure if it's this one, no it's not, one of them has actually got the Alan Moffat Apple paint scheme from his attempt at Le Mans, but I won't scroll all the way through every paint scheme trying to find that at the moment, but yeah, definitely very cool if you download the skin pack for it. So anyway, we'll go and jump into, make sure we're on race, because obviously want to do a race. And I'm not going to drive the 935. I'll kill myself. Yeah, we'll take the Beamer out. Alright, we've got Spa selected, so that's all good. Go across to the opponents. Just add one of everyone there. Alright, no problem. So we will go, we will load the race up and have a bit of a dice. Should be good. Okay guys, so here we are at Spa, all loaded up, ready to jump into the Beamer, and just going out for a practice session at first. See all the opponents with their non-copyright infringement car names written down there as well. So we'll get out there and have a little bit of a run. Also, you may notice in this recording it's probably not at the highest resolution that I normally record in. That's due to the fact that it's just become a little bit taxing on the system. When you run V8 supercars, for example, it's only generating 2 different car shapes. And this one, it's generating 17 different car shapes, so it's quite a load on the system, plus all the individual physics and everything like that. So I was just finding the recordings were running a little bit choppy, so it is going to be a little bit lower resolution than normal, but hopefully it doesn't ruin the experience too much. So here we are, anyway, in pit lane, just about to head out onto the track. Now the one thing that you notice with these cars is that on cold tyres, they are terrible. There's no other word for it. They are just really, really hard to steer, understeer, and we've just been rammed in the pit lane. AI is normally pretty good, so, but I did get rammed in the pit lane there. Maybe I was just going too slow. You see it's just lighting up in every gear. In fact, what I normally do is just actually turn the turbo boost down a bit for the first sort of warm-up lap in practice, just because it helps you not to go piling off into the bushes. People will come flying past me though. 3 coming down here. And of course with the steel brakes, carbon brakes didn't exist when these cars were racing, so all steel brakes. Means you've got a braking distance round about the length of a normal runway. And you can just step on the brakes, absolutely floor the pedal. They will not lock until you get down to a lower speed. I am liking the Beamer though. When the tyres warm up, it should be great. I do wonder what it was like for the first drivers of these cars, because obviously most of the guys racing at this level had been racing for a number of years, and of course they'd grown up racing the very linear power curve associated with a normally aspirated engine, and then suddenly turbochargers have come along and just blown, like, it just be completely different. I mean, the amount of power you're getting is not entirely related to the engine revs. You know, you've got this other device there which is determining your horsepower depending on how quickly it spools up and all the rest of it. So we'll go for a bit of a practice lap. I don't think I'll need too many practice laps. We just want to get the thing nice and warm. Still understeering pretty bad. And of course no power steering on these cars either, so you've really got to throw armfuls of lock into it to get it around the corners, which you're about to see demonstrated quite clearly, if I can pull it up. Apex there somewhere, I know there is. The AI seem to be a little bit better on cold tyres than I am, but I've seen some probably more skilled sim racers than me online saying the AI struggle a bit on cold tyres, so could probably actually turn the turbo boost all the way up. That'll probably help. You can only turn it to 90%. If you turn it to 100, you blow it up. I think only the BMW 2002 can run at 100%. All the rest of them you blow up. There goes the Celica. And fairly, like I said, fairly significant speed differentials between the various cars. Even like the 935, there's multiple versions which have wildly differing horsepower. Just struggling a little bit at the moment. These other two cars have just disappeared out of sight. Of course, I haven't done anything with the setup either. AI's set fairly high, I think. Those guys absolutely just leaving me at the moment. Okay, we might leave practice there, jump straight into the race. I don't need you guys watching me pound around here aimlessly for any longer than this, so as soon as I come out of Eau Rouge here, I'll just escape and we'll jump into a race. So we'll skip the session, and hopefully, just for entertainment purposes, they don't all just leave me behind, because that won't be good viewing. Now the one irritating thing that we've got here is that Assetto Corsa, as anybody who plays it probably knows, doesn't support rolling starts. So we have to do a standing start, which, as you're about to see, these cars really aren't that good at. They do struggle a little bit just trying to get the power down. You'll see what I mean. They just all bog down off the start. The AI does struggle a little bit with the start, but apart from that, they're absolutely fantastic. So we'll get into it and see what we can accomplish here. Starting at the back of the grid, 18th position. Too bad a start, I guess, by comparison to everybody else's shocker. Oh, brake's still very cold, nearly imprinted a BMW grille into the back of that Ferrari. Oh, cold tyres. Just need to short shift a little bit. That 935 behind us is going to go blasting past down the straight here. We're really only fighting the other Beamers and the Escort. Bit of tyre smoke ahead, someone's locked up. I do love the AI on Assetto Corsa. This mod in particular, they seem to be quite good. They do struggle on the standing starts, and I've seen some monumental wrecks on the first laps of some tracks, but in the main, very, very good. Everyone just sort of tiptoeing around at the moment, trying to get some heat into those tyres. They are starting to get there, but they're still a little way off. And 935 right up my back bottom. Had a race here a while ago driving the M1, but that was something else. You just put your foot down at the bottom of this hill, it's like stepping on the afterburners. Let's see if we can make some time on this Beamer in front of us. This is of course the new version of Spa with the newer bus stop chicane. I haven't got a period correct version as yet. If you know of any good versions, let me know in the comments. You know what it's like trying to find really good quality tracks, mods. Oh, I think the 935 is getting a bit impatient. It's going to try and move at Eau Rouge. No, you don't. Surprised he hasn't blown by me already, actually, but doing our best. Here he goes. nice lock up there, just trying to fight him. I know the 935's not too flash through the turns. Try to have him back. No, we're not going to be able to do that. Sorry, I'm not talking too much. Just concentrating through that section. Overcooked it a bit there. And there. That wasn't great. For anyone wondering, this mod does have really good damage effects as well. A lot of mods, they don't even bother with damage effects, but this one, they've really gone to the trouble. Very, very good. Oh, so now I'm driving like an absolute rock ape, but do seem to be making a bit of time on the guy in front of us. They kind of go from understeer on the way in to sudden oversteer if you get a bit eager on the throttle. They sort of managed to have both. I like the sound of it sort of kicking and farting and sneezing and doing all these things that the old turbo cars used to do. Modern turbo cars are so refined. You drive like a modern day GT3, GTE, something like that. And they just, you know, you barely even notice from their driving characteristics that they got turbos in them at all. It's just so refined. Not so with this. Oh, I absolutely made a meal of that. Brake way too late. Let the other guy behind us through. To afford ourselves the honour of being in last place now. With the slowest car on the grid, probably understandable, but I'd like to get in touch with this guy here. He's in the same car as us, so I think we can make a good fight with him. Looks like he didn't get out of Eau Rouge too well. See if we put a move on down here with our steel brakes. Or maybe. Trying to reel him in. Got one lap left to do it. Seem to struggle just through the middle section of the lap. I can't keep the sort of pace. He is. He wasn't that good through Eau Rouge last time, so we'll see if we can make up some time there. If we don't get something done after that, I think we're in a bit of trouble. I think we gained, but not that much. Just, they do not like the inside curbs. They do not like apex curbs, these things. I'm sure you can set them up, but I'm running baseline set up at the moment. With a couple of little exceptions. I just dropped the rear wing a little bit. Probably could have got away with dropping it some more. And changed to the sprint race tyre. Barring some sort of failure or issue from the AI, I think we're consigned to last of the finishes, I'm afraid. It does happen, they do get failures and have little incidents of their own, lock tyres and go off and things like that. But in 5 laps at Spa, probably not. Maybe an endurance race, a little bit different. That's a good thing about these cars as well. You can use them for, because they race, this type of car raced so many different places. They're not out of place anywhere, really. You can race it at Le Mans, do endurance races with them. So anyway, that's it. Got absolutely destroyed, embarrassed by the AI in this one. But just to give you a look at some of the cars that are up there at the front, so that's the BMW M1, that one there actually won the race, followed by a Capri, followed by a Porsche 935, followed by a Celica. So there's a good old mix up there, but unfortunately my little BMWs, we just finished right down the bottom, although there was one that sort of came up there as well. So just go back, have a quick look at the replay here, and I just love the way that these cars look on replay. It's imagine it's going to come through pretty choppy on the recording, unfortunately, but just the way that they they kick the fires out and everything like that, it's just absolutely fantastic. So really, if you are interested in this type of car, racing these type of cars, there's a bit of learning curve to them, as I probably demonstrated, but once you get the hang of them, they are very, very rewarding and fun to drive, much more so than a modern car, in my opinion, GT3 or something like that. These are absolutely great fun to drive. And if you can find a league that wants to get in and wants to do these, you're going to be in basically sim racing heaven, apart from arguing over who gets to drive the faster cars. So I'm not sure if they'll release a league version with identical performances or not. But anyway, so that's the mod. That's basically what I'm spending a great deal of my holiday time on Assetto Corsa. So if anyone's interested in it, I will put the link to the mod in the description, as well as, if I can find it, the link to the paint skins, paint pack. So yeah, that's going to be basically all from me. So as always, leave a like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to be notified about when more content goes up. But apart from that, we'll see you next time.